All right, Trump did it again. He's at Michigan. He threatens Governor Whitmer again. She's the one that the militia had a plot to kidnap and murder. I'm going to give you the exact quotes from Trump and his crowd. I was actually going to ask a question today, independent of this, who's worse, Trump or MAGA? In fact, we have that poll, tyt.com/polls/MAGA. We'll put the link down below. If you just go to /polls, you'll always see all of our polls. But it's a perfect setup for this story, or this setup's a perfect. This story is a perfect setup for that poll, as you'll see in a second. And I think that's a really interesting question as to whether Trump or his supporters are worse. They're both involved in this story. First, as usual, all the live videos sponsored by Too Strong Coffee. I got two different roasts: Rebel Roast and Uprising. That's the breakfast blend, obviously. Uprising, you get it. TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. They support progressive causes after the second bag. And the third bag, you get a free mug on top. So go check it out at TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. We'll put that link down below eventually as well. And guys, I always try to read out your names if you become a member while I'm doing the live videos. You hit the join button below on YouTube. Everyone else, TYT.com/join. All right, so rally for Trump in Michigan. The crowd, as always, going nuts. And they start a chant. You're not going to be surprised by the chant. Lock her up. Now, pre-Trump era, you would have been surprised by that chant because they just threatened to kill her 10 days ago. And the militia did, and the FBI arrested them. It was deadly serious plot. And so for a political crowd to chant lock her up, after a militia tried to lock her up, literally kidnap and then put her on trial and kill her, is brutal and heinous. But, of course, Trump always makes it worse. So they're chanting that, and he goes, he grins, lock her up, he says, and then he says, lock them all up. That's the moment where you're supposed to say, no, guys, we're all excited. Let's go vote. Let's go make a difference. And, you know, the Republicans are right. Whatever you're going to say and how he's the greatest of all time, say all that you want. But tell the crowd, hey, guys, you know, there was a plot against her. Let's cool it with that kind of talk. Of course, Trump's never going to do that. But he's not just going to be neutral. He eggs them on. Lock them all up. Lock her up, right? And then he continues. He said, I guess they say she was threatened, right? What do you mean you guess? It was your FBI that stopped the plot. Of course, he has nothing to do with it. The FBI has actually been doing a great job, but it is his government. He is the head of the executive branch. In fact, he should be bragging about it. He should be like, hey, man, we stopped the plot against Whitmer. But he can't help himself because he loves the violent right-wing militias so much. And he's like, I guess they threatened her. There's no guess. There's no guess. He continues. She was threatened. She says, I guess they say she was threatened, right? She was threatened. And she blamed me. She blamed me. He finds that to be the relevant part. Not that they were going to murder a governor of a U.S. state when you're president. That's not the relevant part according to Trump. He's like, are they on my side? They're on my side? Oh, who cares? Who cares? God, he's such a vicious and terrible guy. And then he says, and our people were the ones that worked with her people so let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. What is that? What do you mean, let's see what happens? I guess there was a threat, but let's see what happens. Lock them all up, right? Jesus, he is unreal. So when we say that he's fascist, that's what we mean. So he's threatening violence against his political opponents. He's egging on militias and vigilantes to carry out what is called stochastic terrorism. I didn't say Bob go killer. I just say, let's see what happens. Hey, stand by, militias. Oh, Whitmer's it. And by the way, I delivered this to you in an earlier video. And because he said it a couple of days earlier. After the kidnapping plot is exposed, by the way, copy, paste, thank you for becoming a member. Really appreciate it. After the plot is exposed, Trump comes out and gives a speech a couple of days ago calling Gretchen Whitmer a dictator. He originally said liberate Michigan. Then the militia plot happens to, in their minds, liberate Michigan from Whitmer. And by the way, the cops, they planned to blow up cops and blow up bridges, etc. And he's not at all, Trump, not at all bothered by the attempt to kidnap and murder a governor because, oh, she's blue state governor, doesn't like me. She doesn't like me. She says something mean about me. Go murder her. Go murder her. Who cares? Who cares? I didn't say Bob do it. I didn't technically say kill her, right? I just said liberate Michigan, and they tried to. And when that didn't work, I then said she's still a dictator. Implication meaning, isn't anyone going to do anything about it again? Then he goes to Michigan and he gets the crowd chanting, lock her up. And then he says, we'll have to see what happens to her. Unbelievable. Full-blown fascist. If he wins, which luckily it doesn't look like there's any chance of that. But look, you never know. It's 2 weeks out. Vote. If he wins, oh my God. The vigilante violence is going to be through the roof. They're not going to do anything about the cops, against protesters' violence. They're not going to do anything about vigilante violence. It is going to be absolute mayhem. I mean, the irony is he's trying to win this election by scaring the suburbs into saying, oh, there's going to be mayhem if Biden wins. No, we're living in mayhem now because you're the president. And it's only going to get way, way worse if he gets a second election. Fountain Pen Teacher, thank you for signing up. Appreciate it. Hit the join button below. I'm going to show you this shirt that I'm wearing because it's perfect for this situation. This is the statement that Biden made that was so popular in the first debate. We made a shirt out of it. Will you shut up, man? And it's perfect for what Trump just did, okay? Stop telling people to lock up the governor of Michigan who almost was, taken hostage and killed by this insane militia in Michigan. So shoptyt.com to get this shirt. So let me give you Whitmer's response real quick. And there's actually something very important in that. Before I do that, I want to thank AHM for the super chat. I really appreciate it, brother. So she says, this is exactly the rhetoric that has put me, my family, and other government officials' lives in danger while we try to save the lives of our fellow Americans. Michael K., thank you for joining up. Appreciate it. Taupe Goose, 1297, and Tony Spurgeon, thank you for the super chats, guys. So, of course, that's exactly right. But I thought Tori Saylor's point was even more salient. That's Whitmer's deputy digital director. And she said, I know because I'm the one handling the account. Every time Trump intimates violence against Whitmer or speaks out against her, we get death threats nonstop. The death threats spike because his audience is listening to him and they love it. And then they get all riled up and then they send in death threats. Last thing here, and then I really want to go to the poll because the poll's so important. Whitmer also said, it's incredibly disturbing that the President of the United States, 10 days after a plot to kidnap, put me on trial, and execute me, 10 days after that was uncovered. The president is at it again and inspiring and incentivizing and inciting this kind of domestic terrorism. It is wrong. It's got to end. It's dangerous, not just for me and my family, but for public servants everywhere who are doing their jobs and trying to protect their fellow Americans. She's absolutely right on a couple of fronts. Tom Hoffman, thanks for joining, brother. Number one, also threats from the militia against the governor of governor of Virginia as well. And now threatens to murder the mayor of Wichita, Kansas. So all by people who don't want to wear masks, who say that they're clearly right-wing supporters of Donald Trump, and they're all talking about how these people are dictators and this is tyranny. Oh my God, you're trying to save my life by suggesting that I wear a mask? I'm going to murder you. I mean, these are the insane people that follow Trump. MTS, thank you for the super chat. So let's get to the poll because it's perfect for this. Look, who's worse, Donald Trump or MAGA? It's a great question. In the beginning, I would have said his supporters are worse. Now, that's a unacceptable thing to say in American media. Mainstream media says, well, I mean, I cover up for how loathsome Republican voters are because I want them to watch me and I want to get higher ratings and I want them to read our magazines, et cetera, et cetera. So we all pretend that Trump supporters are not as maniacal and evil and mean-spirited as he is. Well, I don't pretend that. It's obvious that they are. That's why they voted for him. That's why they support him. That's why a giant chunk of the Republican Party, after seeing all the monstrous things that Donald Trump has done, is still 100% on his corner. So if you're going to say Trump is X, well, then his supporters are clearly also X, at a minimum, right? The reason I would have said in the beginning that the Trump supporters are worse is because Donald Trump basically A/B tested his messaging. And now, he doesn't do this strategically, it's just his instinct, right? So he goes in front of a crowd, and we saw him do it in 2015 plenty of times. I'll give you a rough example. He didn't literally do this, but he'll poke around the edges, whether it's in interviews, it's in rallies, etc. So way back in the day, like an example he might have done, again, not literal in this case, but it gives you a good enough sense, is hey, we're pro-immigration for the right kind of people, right? You know, if they're hardworking, etc. And the crowd's like, boo. And he's like, okay, we're against immigration, right? Crowd goes nuts. Ah! I mean, we hate the immigrants, right? Ah! The crowd goes even more nuts. So he's like, all right, apparently we hate the immigrants. We hate the illegal immigrants, but we're okay with the legal immigrants? Boo. Oh, we hate the illegal immigrants too. It's chain migration now. Oh, we even hate their kids. Let's lock them up. Ah! The crowd goes nuts. Lock them up, right? So Trump is only responding to what he's seeing. If the Republican voters said, no, let's be decent, let's be humane, let's be moral, let's be the party of family values, then Trump would have pretended to have family values. He would have pretended to be moral and decent because he's a natural-born con man. That's the one thing he's good at. And so what he's doing is conning the Republican voters by giving them what he thinks they want. And what they want is indecency, attack the others, get us riled up with hatred, fear, ignorance, and anger. So Trump gives them what they want. So that's an excellent case to vote that his supporters are worse. Again, there's a poll. We'll put the link down below after I'm done, but it's easy to go to it. tyt.com/polls gets you all of our polls. In this case, it's tyt.com/polls/MAGA if you want to go straight to that one poll. Again, always check the description box. That's where we have the links. Anyway, so you think open and shut case maybe, given that logic. Well, hold on, though. So Donald Trump, though, our leaders are supposed to theoretically be leaders, lead us in a better direction, right? And if you're really lucky, maybe even be the best of us. Shayna Ravens, thank you for joining. You hit the join button below on YouTube. You become a member, and you make this show possible. So now I know with Trump, he's not better than anybody. He's the worst of us. So he's never going to make his crowd better. If anything, he was going to make them worse and encourage their worst instincts, which is exactly what he did in the Michigan story, but fill in the blank, what he's done 1,000 times over. But the thing about his supporters is that they're generally speaking desperate. So there's some really wealthy elites in there, and they're the swamp, and they funnel tons of money to Donald Trump in the form of campaign contributions, licensing fees, deals he might get now or later. They go to his Mar-a-Lago and give him money there. They go to his hotels, give him money there. So that's the swamp, and that's a big contingent of Trump supporters, and they're already awful. Tom Hoffman, thank you for upgrading already. When you upgrade, you get all of our videos. So already we've got that issue with Donald Trump egging on their worst instincts. But they're not, some of them are the elites, but that's a really small minority. That's a really important minority because they have the power, they influence the money, and they push Trump in a certain direction. But the great majority of Donald Trump's supporters are in economic, and I would argue morally desperate straits. So they got screwed. That part is true. Wait, did I just say MAGA got screwed? Yes, okay? Because MAGA is 98% the average American guy, right? And the Democrats also have average Americans. It's not like the Republicans have more average Americans. It's not like they have I'm not part of that absurd way of thinking of like, oh, romanticizing the right-wing voters. Somehow they're more precious and important and more American. Not at all. But are they equally American? Well, they don't really believe in American ideals, so there's some issues there, and they apparently don't believe in democracy because they don't mind Trump saying, I'm not going to leave, and even if I lose, I'm not going to do a peaceful transfer, and I want to arrest my political opponents before an election, etc. They've got all those issues, true, right? But they got crushed just like everyone else did. Minimum wage is still $7.25. If it kept up with inflation, it should be over $20. They used to have small businesses. They used to have the diner in town. They used to have the mom and pop shop stores. Well, those are all gone. Bulldozed by multinational corporations, bulldozed by Walmart. The giant corporations, with the help of the politicians, came in and just wiped the middle of America clean. They just vacuumed up all of their money, their power, and honestly, their respect. So did the supporters react well to that? No, they reacted disastrously. And so instead of looking up to see where their problems are, they looked down. You think the guy that crossed the border without $1 in his pocket created your problems? No, the guy's up. Look up if you want to see where the problems are. But that's where the elites and the swamp that control Trump made a giant difference, and they always do. They control all the Republican politicians and a lot of the Democrats, and they told them, hey, have them look down. Dude, we don't want them to see the real problem. If they see the real problem, then we're all in a lot of trouble. Make sure that they take it out on blacks, Latinos, Muslims, LGBTQ. Oh, tell them, scare them about the transgender people coming into bathrooms. Does that happen? Almost never. Is there any violence? Zero, none. Who cares? Get them to hate gay people and trans people, and get them to hate Muslims, get them to hate Latinos, get them to hate immigrants. Whatever you do, don't have them look up, okay? And they fell for it. And that's why they continue to be in desperate straits economically, with health care. They got very little health care. It continues to be expensive, just like the rest of us. They got lower wages. They're crushed by the man. And on top of that, they've been led in the wrong direction. So they're both, hurt and ignorant on top. And now I'm not trying to romanticize them, as I've said already, because they did go in the wrong direction. And then what happened was they took it out on all the wrong people. And they've created incredible strife and sometimes violence and hatred and fear in this country. And so I don't excuse anything that MAGA's done. But they're not the elites, and they weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth, and they got led by the nose, and I wish they hadn't, but they did. And so now I turn back to Trump. Trump is a natural born con man. So he knows how desperate those voters are. He knows how bad a situation MAGA is. And he looked at that as an opportunity. He's a truly sick and vile guy. So being the natural born con man that he is, he sees a bunch of Americans who are in really bad shape, and he thinks, I can get them to hate other people. That way the problem won't be fixed at all. And the people at the top, who are me and my friends, will continue to rob those supporters. We'll continue to rob MAGA blind. We'll continue to rob the whole country blind. Blacks, whites, Latinos. What's the only thing that Trump did in 4 years? A $2 trillion tax cut for the rich. He bragged today about how he built a wall. 5 miles. He built 5 new miles of wall. Did you get your wall? No. Did you get anything? No. Did the rich get $2 trillion in tax cuts? Yes. Yes, that was the whole point. So he's, as bad as MAGA is, Trump being a con man, pushing their worst instincts into and mobilizing it and encouraging it, and robbing them while he's doing it. Oh, man. That's tough to beat. That's tough to beat. So who's worse, Trump or his supporters? tyt.com/polls/MAGA. Look, again, thanks to twostrongcoffee.com/TYT for making these live videos possible. Thank you to you guys for making these live videos possible. Hit the join button below. Let me read a couple of member names here. Alexander Telgan just joined up. Daniel Breathwaite just joined up. Manuel, thank you for using Super Chat. The Don 212, thank you again, brother. Love to see you in the Super Chats. Eric Harness, thank you for signing up. Appreciate it. I don't want to miss anybody, but I think, I think that's everybody for now. All right, guys, go vote in the poll. I told you my opinion, but I'm still a little torn on it. I'm super curious what you guys think. I'm going to do a couple more videos probably this weekend. I'll update you on the poll as we go along. Bruce Taylor, thank you for signing up. And remember, if you're not watching on YouTube, and we're on everywhere, tyt.com/join. You guys make this show possible. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.